Face Manny Pacquiao, so it's only right that I ask you this question because you're one of the very few trainers to have a win over him with Timothy Bradley. At this point of his career, fighting someone like Errol Spence, what would you expect from Manny Pacquiao? He gave a great outing against Keith Thurman, but that was maybe like 2 years ago, I think, or so.
I really don't know what to say about this. Everybody knows Errol Spence is young, strong, physically strong. Manny Pacquiao is not a 47-pounder. When he was young, in his prime, I understand, but right now, he's already, what, like 44 years old?
About 43, 44, yeah, around 44. There, yeah.
Right now, I honestly think that any fight can be his last. Any fighter can come and beat Manny Pacquiao because his age is going to kick in any day. Yeah. I mean, if he would have fought Mikey Garcia, I honestly thought Mikey Garcia would win because Mikey Garcia has a very accurate right hand and he would hurt Manny Pacquiao. When he fought Keith Thurman, I could tell through the fight that he dominated the early rounds. Obviously, his age, he was going to give a few rounds, but as the rounds start getting into the later rounds, his age starts kicking, he starts fading. And you saw Keith Thurman coming stronger in the later rounds because that's when the age starts kicking in on Manny Pacquiao. But, I mean, that's a fight that, that Errol should win because he's the young fighter. He's a bigger fighter, and he's a stronger fighter. Manny Pacquiao's fast, but, I mean, he is among the best and one of the greatest fighters, but I just think age is a big factor. I mean, he's already an older fighter, and competing against a young, full, strong fighter like Errol Spence, I mean, I think Spence will beat him.
Pacquiao versus Spence.
I think Spence might be too big. I just think he might be too big. But Pacquiao's a veteran, man. He's got that, he's got that smart. He knows how to maneuver these guys. He knows how to set traps for these guys. So I think it's a good fight for boxing.
What's he gonna have to do differently going up against, a southpaw? First, Pacquiao, first southpaw he's had since Diaz.
You know what, man? At this point in the game, it really don't matter. He's got so much experience. It don't even matter. The one I believe, that has to make the adjustments is Errol. Because I don't
What kind of adjustments, buddy?
He's fighting a real veteran, man, and these real veterans can help you as you're fighting them, make you a better fighter. I mean, I just feel he's too big, but he can't go into the fight thinking that I'm the bigger man, I'm just going to walk all over him. No, he's got to be smart about it.
Do you think he could stop Pacquiao?
Hey, man, listen, anything's possible.
So, but sounds like you are giving the edge to Errol then.
Yeah, of course, you know what I mean? And, listen, in this game, you get old walking up the stairs. You know what I mean? And Pacquiao's 42 years old, I believe, so. But I think it's a good fight for boxing. It's something we need.
Do you know when that's starting, or are you the last one to know as the
We're
fighter?
the first one to know, the last one to admit it.
And what do you make of a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao taking on this kind of challenge at this point of his career?
I'm a big fan of both of the fighters, Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. I mean, to me, they're best of the best right now. But I'm gonna have to lean a little bit more with Manny Pacquiao because he's had so many wars, and I'm just hoping for him to win. Actually, Errol Spence is younger, and he's on his prime. But Manny Pacquiao, man, it's unbelievable. Sometimes he just comes with everything. He's been looking very good. So I just want him to win, to be honest with you. But at the same time, it's a great fight. Both fighters are really good. It's going to be an exciting fight, and I can't miss it. Nobody can miss it.
What could potentially make him win that night over Errol Spence's attribute compared to his?
I think, the thing about this fight, I think, in my opinion, Manny Pacquiao just throws a lot of punches. Errol Spence waits a little bit. He's more accurate, more sharp. But, Manny Pacquiao just going to throw, and maybe by points, maybe. Hopefully, like I said, Errol throws a little bit more punches, but Manny Pacquiao is just going to come and go through a war and throw a lot of punches.
Any advice for Errol Spence? I know when you guys were sparring Pacquiao, it was like a decade ago, but...
Well, I think, because I've known Manny for so many, I'm not known, but been there with training and all that. He just has to throw punches, man. He has to go too, He can't let Manny Pacquiao throw so many punches, and he's gonna have to stay alert and just be there, Because if he tries to throw one punch and tries to catch Manny, he might catch him, but if he doesn't catch him, he's gonna fall behind on points, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Now Spence, man, two southpaws. How's that go?
I'm an Errol Spence fan. We're gonna say, had a chance to work with him. Good kid, love him to death. And of course, Pacquiao is a living legend. I mean, again, I hope it'll be a good fight, but you know, I'm a Spence fan, love Pacquiao also, but nevertheless, I would give the younger, bigger, naturally stronger fighter the edge.
What do you feel he has to do to be effective?
Just be Errol. Just be him. That's it. I don't think you have to do nothing special or nothing different from what he's been doing, you know, and just be yourself. Pacquiao is a different animal, though. You know, and if he got any of that old Manny Pacquiao in him, and then he got the legend with him also in Freddie Roach, you know, so who knows? You feel me? But I would give Errol the edge in that fight.
Sobre la pelea entre Errol Spence y Manny Pacquiao.
No, pues el Pacquiao ya se va, ya está grande, el otro está nuevo. Ahí vas a ver lo que es que le peguen también al Pacquiao.
Sí,
pero si el Manuel lo noqueó feo y todos le pegaban, ese Spence va a estar duro para Pacquiao.
Pero su descanso de 2 años y la actuación que tuvo con Thurman no enseña que todavía tiene la habilidad para competir o ganarle a un Errol Spence.
Sí, no más competir, como le digo, el dinero, el dinero habla. Sí.
Por último, ¿cómo ves esa pelea? ¿Cómo va a pasar? ¿Pelea dura?
Es dura, pero el otro la va a ganar la edición. Sí, la edición. Pacquiao no tiene con qué no quiera al otro. Okay.
What do you make of a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao taking on this kind of opponent at this point of his career?
When you have a Manny Pacquiao that takes care of his body the way he does, athletic, you know, he's takes care of his body, as I said, inside and outside the ring. Really handles himself very well. He's good up here, which is the most important thing from what I can tell. I mean, you can never count Manny Pacquiao out, man. So look what happened when he fought Keith Thurman. Most people counted him out, and he beat him.
Yeah.
But it's Errol Spence. You know
well. You worked
Keith
with him
Thurman ain't Errol Spence. You know what I
amateurs,
mean?
yeah.
Absolutely. I have a great deal of respect for Errol.
Yeah.
You know, going back to the amateur days and being together with the USA national team. He's a great fighter. To me, he's right there with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence are definitely right there for the #1 spot at 147.
Yeah, they're both southpaws, so it might be a different look for Manny Pacquiao. But regardless, Manny is who he is. You can't really just go pick a sparring partner to imitate him for your training camp. What do you expect in this fight, man? Who do you favor stylistically? What do you think is going to happen? Who's going to be the last man standing when the dust settles in that fight?
I think it's going to be a physical fight. I think both of these guys are going to come in and give people what they want, the fans what they want, which is a great fight. Everybody knows Manny Pacquiao. He's never been in a bad fight, and Errol Spence has never been in a bad fight. So for that, I wouldn't expect anything less but fireworks.
Yeah, obviously you're not part of the fight, but if you could, from the outside looking in, if you had any advice for both fighters as a trainer, what would you tell them, Pacquiao and Spence? What
can you advise someone like Manny Pacquiao that's seen it all, that's fought everybody, and world champion, I believe 6 different weight classes.
8.
He's got one of the best coaches in the world at Freddie Roach. What can you actually tell a guy like that? There's nothing I can say that's going to make a difference, you know what I mean? And with Errol Spence, obviously, he's the less experienced of the two, but he's the stronger fighter of the two at 147. Yeah. So he can crack, he can fight you on the inside, fight you on the outside. Errol Spence is just, again, one of the top fighters at 147.
He's the younger one, obviously. He went through the car crash thing. It looks like it didn't affect him much with his performance against Danny Garcia. Do you expect age and that to come into play in this fight now? Because Manny's a totally different fighter from Danny Garcia, or do you just...
I don't know. Let's hope not, right? Let's hope not. I mean, I believe that Errol Spence is at the top of his game, considering the fact that he was in a car accident, and we all know the story. But we saw him fight Danny Garcia, and he looked good. He looked spectacular. He won pretty much
every round.
Every round.
Yeah.
It's Danny. Danny's no pushover. I mean, Danny, very respected fighter. Danny can compete against anybody, and definitely has the potential to become a world champion again. So yeah, you know, they're fighting the best, fighting the best.
Yeah.
And now Errol Spence fighting Manny Pacquiao. It doesn't get any more exciting than that.
Ask him about what he thinks what the senator needs to do.
That's why we're here for Manny Pacquiao and Spence.
What does the senator need to do to win August 21st? What does he need to do to win August 21st?
Like what does
the
he need?
Senator.
The speed, the power, the condition. Yeah, to beat Spence.
Because he has that already since he was. I think when he was born, he got that speed and power already. So, and I think before Spence can react, Manny can hit him right away because of his speed.
Yeah.
Because Spence doesn't have the speed that Manny has.
Yeah.
So.
Do you like this matchup for him at 42 years old? He's 42. I know he's looking good, but he's older. You know, it's a dangerous fight.
For Spence?
Yeah, it's a dangerous fight.
Oh, it's very dangerous for him because for me, when he fought Garcia, Mikey Garcia is way too small for him. And Garcia doesn't have speed, but he didn't hurt Garcia. Then he fought a guy that had speed and power. So we'll see. But I think Manny will knock him out in the early round or something. Maybe first to 6 rounds. That's the most.
Pacquiao do it again. He did it to Floridian and Thurman, or does Will Earl have his number?
I think Earl's just too big, too strong, too good, and Manny is 42 now. At some point, Father Time is going to show up, and you know, I think Earl's just too young, strong, good, too big. I don't think it's going to be a good night for Manny Pacquiao.
Now, Earl took to social media and said that when he fought Danny, he was 70-80%. Do you think 100% Errol Spence can stop this version of Manny Pacquiao?
100% Errol Spence, yeah, he could stop Manny. Because Manny, you know, once Earl times Manny has a bounce, jump rhythm. And, you know, if Earl gets his timing down, and catches him with the right shot, he can stop Manny.
When it comes to Manny, obviously he's going to be the first southpaw Earl's faced in quite some time. You know, internet likes to believe that they were keeping Earl away from southpaws. You know him from the amateurs. You've been there for sparring in D.C. I'm pretty sure you was there for the Floyd sparring, were you?
I was out there in Vegas, but I wasn't in the gym when they sparred.
So you know him better than us. I mean, what do you think? Southpaw, orthodox, does it matter at this point in Earl's career? Is it just his time?
Yeah, it's just his time. It doesn't matter whether he's fighting a southpaw, right-handed. He's just the truth, man. He's the goods.
Do you think Errol wins that fight against Manny Pacquiao?
I do think Errol wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if Pacquiao proves the opposite. Honestly, Pacquiao's a warrior. He just, by taking the fight, he showed that he's one of the best in history, and he's got the speed, he's got the power, he's got the experience. I think he can pull it off.
It seems like when I talk to fighters, they say that southpaw versus southpaw is actually tougher for Manny because his style than it is for Spence. Do you think
I think it is tougher. If you look at his box rec, he hasn't fought many lefties. I think he did earlier in his career, but most of his opponents, I'm not saying he's avoided lefties, but for some reason, most of his opponents, his last few opponents, never been lefties. It might be the case. But I still think, Manny's style, his speed, his power could surprise anybody. And if he lands, he could hurt anybody. So I wouldn't be surprised if Manny pulls it off.
Is there anything when you were up close with Errol that's underrated or overlooked about him?
Errol's very smart, man. Errol's very smart. He's a basic fighter. He does everything correct. Whatever we tried, he was ready for it. Didn't look, he's not a flashy guy. He doesn't look, like some of those guys were like, you're like, wow, did you see that? No, he's a very basic guy, but he does everything right. If it's defensively, if it's aggressively, if it's, whatever it is, he does everything correct.
His fundamentals are
exactly,
perfect, right?
Everything he does is pretty much perfect.
Who do you think has the power in that fight?
I would probably say the power. I'd probably go with Pacquiao. But Spence is very smart. It's going to be hard for Pacquiao to land also.
But it's a good fight. I'm actually excited about the fight.
I think everyone is.
I think so. It's a great fight.
But if you were a betting man,
I'd have to bet Spence. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Pacquiao pulls it out.
You faced him. You have a win over him. What do you think of Manny Pacquiao, 42 years old, taking on this kind of challenge?
Well, I think Manny Pacquiao in history is going to be one of the best fighters of all times, a legend in the sport. But at this point, I think he's already pushing his luck. I mean, not because he's not a good fighter. He's a great fighter. He's always going to be one of the best fighters. But his age, we gotta take, for instance, that he's not the young fighter. He's not the young Pacquiao, 5-6 years ago. Yeah. He's tough. He's going to put up a fight against Errol Spence, just as he did with Keith Thurman. I mean, if you know boxing, you can see that fighting Keith Thurman, he was beating Keith Thurman in the early rounds. And then all of a sudden, Keith Thurman starts taking over in the later rounds. That is based on the youth. That is youth speaking there. And I think it's the same thing. The same thing's going to happen in this fight. Manny Pacquiao is going to come in and he's going to put up a great fight in the early rounds. And I think age is going to start kicking in. And that's what Errol Spence is going to take over. Honestly, that's what I think. If it was 5 years ago, I mean, hands down, Manny Pacquiao will beat Errol Spence. But right now, Manny Pacquiao is already, at the point of his career where, I mean, he's just pushing his luck, honestly. He's great. He's tough. Great human being. Great athlete. One of the best fighters of all times. But at this point, there's youth, There's this young, physically strong fighters like Errol Spence that will take over in the later rounds, I mean, good defense, strong fighter, and he's young. Yeah. I think youth is the most important thing.